She thought she could humiliate Pam Bondi, live in front of millions. But what happened next flipped the entire conversation. When former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi joined a routine political panel, no one expected fireworks. But seated across from her was Caroline Leavitt, a young, bold Trump loyalist with something to prove. Instead of debate, she came in swinging. She called Bondi outdated, irrelevant, a relic of the past. But Pam didn't flinch. No shouting, no drama. Just one perfectly timed response that stopped Caroline in her tracks and had the entire internet talking. This wasn't just a clash of opinions. This was experience versus ego. And Pam Bondi, she won without ever raising her voice. It was meant to be just another routine political roundtable on primetime television. Nothing unusual. The topic of the night, the future of the Republican Party, and how to navigate the increasingly unpredictable landscape of American voters. The network had brought in a mix of seasoned voices and rising stars for what was expected to be a civil, insightful discussion. But what happened instead was anything but predictable. Among the guests was Pam Bondi, the former Florida Attorney General. Known for her sharp legal mind, calm demeanor, and fierce loyalty to conservative values, Bondi was no stranger to political debates. Her media presence was polished, and her reputation earned through years of public service. She had stood in courtrooms, advised presidents, and been part of some of the nation's most high-profile legal moments. Sitting directly across from her was Caroline Leavitt, a rising star in the Republican media scene, barely in her late 20s, with a firebrand style that had earned her both fans and critics. Leavitt was unapologetically bold, known for speaking her mind without filters. She had a large following online, especially among younger conservatives, and had quickly become a go-to face for Gen Z Republican energy. Her style was aggressive, her words sharp, and she had something to prove. The stage was set, the studio lights gleamed off the polished desk, producers whispered final instructions through earpieces. The theme music faded, and the red recording light blinked on. Both women greeted each other with polite smiles. At a glance, it seemed professional, friendly even. But anyone paying close attention could sense the underlying tension. Bondi's posture was steady, relaxed. Leavitt, on the other hand, had a spark in her eye and a slightly forced smile, like someone waiting for their chance to strike. Then came the opening question from the moderator, a question so basic it should have set the tone for a balanced conversation. Let's begin with this. How should the Republican Party appeal to independent voters in the next election cycle? There was a brief pause. Cameras zoomed in for reaction shots. Everyone expected Pam to begin with a strategic, measured response. But before she could even lean forward to answer, Caroline Leavitt jumped in. And she didn't ease in gently. With a confident, almost rehearsed voice, Leavitt launched a surprise attack. Honestly, the problem with appealing to independent voters is that we keep relying on old-school figures like Pam Bondi. The Republican Party needs a fresh voice. We can't keep dragging along outdated strategies from people who no longer represent the grassroots. Pam Bondi's eyebrows rose, just slightly. The moderator glanced between them, visibly surprised. This wasn't the tone the show was going for, but Caroline continued undeterred. With all due respect, we don't need more polished lawyers on camera. We need fighters, real fighters who understand the new Republican base. And just like that, the entire tone of the segment changed. What had started as a roundtable had suddenly turned into a showdown. Instead of taking a moment to reflect on the moderator's question, how should Republicans appeal to independent voters in the next election? Caroline Leavitt decided to change the tone of the conversation entirely. With a sharp breath and a practiced posture, she leaned slightly forward, and in a voice that was both confident and cold, she fired the first shot. Frankly, the old-school Republicans like Pam are the reason the party has lost its energy. Gasps weren't audible, but you could feel them. She wasn't just answering a question. She was calling someone out, live and unapologetically. We need fresh voices, not recycled establishment names. The comment hung in the air like a thick fog. Studio lights shimmered against the stunned silence. Even the moderator looked caught off guard, unsure whether to jump in or let it play out. The producers in the control room were likely scrambling, cutting between camera angles, deciding whether this moment was brilliant television or political chaos. But Caroline wasn't finished. Now emboldened, she raised her eyebrows and pressed forward, not just criticizing Pam's approach, but attacking her entire legacy. People like Pam Bondi don't represent the modern conservative movement. They're stuck in the past, clinging to political power instead of actually fighting for the people. Oof, that wasn't policy critique. That was personal. Leavitt's words dripped with the same kind of rebellion and boldness that had helped her climb the political commentary ladder so quickly. She was speaking to the younger generation, those who felt tired of polished politicians and wanted a punchier, more passionate brand of conservatism. But in doing so, she crossed a line, one not of political ideology, but of professional respect. And yet, Pam Bondi didn't flinch. No eye roll, no forced smile, no flustered defense. She simply inhaled, slow, steady, and looked at Leavitt with the calm eyes of someone who had been through much tougher battles than this one. It was the kind of reaction that instantly shifted the power dynamic. While Leavitt might have hoped to make Bondi appear outdated or irrelevant, her emotional attack did something unexpected. It made Bondi seem more composed, more mature, and yes, more powerful. The studio felt split in two. On one side, a young firebrand demanding change, and on the other, a seasoned veteran calmly preparing her response. It wasn't just a debate anymore. It was a clash of generations. Pam slowly turned toward the moderator and then back to Caroline, her voice low, clear, and steady. No shouting, no name-calling. Just facts wrapped in poise. Her reply, when it came, didn't just respond to the insult. It dismantled it, piece by piece. In that moment, she didn't just defend herself. She owned the room. And what she said next turned the tide of the conversation entirely. Pam Bondi didn't raise her voice. She didn't interrupt. She didn't even let the insult show on her face. Instead, she simply sat up straighter, her eyes fixed on Caroline Leavitt with a calm intensity that said, "You just made a mistake." With a voice as steady as stone, Pam spoke, measured, direct, and without even a hint of anger. "You know, Caroline," she said, "experience isn't a weakness. It's what helps us win. I've been fighting legal battles long before Twitter was even invented." The entire studio fell into silence. It was one of those rare moments on live television when no one dared to move. The air itself seemed to pause. Even the moderator froze, his cue cards in hand, eyes shifting nervously between the two women. Pam wasn't finished. "It's easy," she said, her tone unwavering, "to throw insults on TV. It's a lot harder to actually get results." She turned her body slightly, making sure the camera could see her clearly, but her eyes never left Caroline. "I've stood in real courtrooms, not just behind microphones. I've defended victims, fought for justice, and helped shape laws. I've worked with governors. I've advised presidents. And more importantly, I've served the people, without needing a viral moment to validate it." Now her voice dropped just slightly, carrying more weight than volume. "And let me tell you something," she added. "If you want to build a movement, you don't tear down the women who came before you. You respect them. You learn from them. Because if you don't, then you're not leading. You're just shouting. No applause, no reactions, just pure silence. Because when something hits, it doesn't need sound to prove it." The camera zoomed in slowly on Caroline Leavitt's face. A flash of hesitation. A flicker of something unspoken. She blinked rapidly, her signature confidence clearly shaken. The girl who had burst into the conversation like a political wrecking ball now looked caught off guard. She had expected a fight, maybe a heated back and forth, a ratings-worthy argument where she could dominate the headlines. But what she got instead was something she wasn't ready for, a lesson. Bondi hadn't just defended herself. She had delivered a masterclass in leadership, dignity, and strength. Without so much as raising her tone, she reminded everyone watching what real influence looks like. No shouting, no hashtags, just presence. In that moment, Pam Bondi wasn't just a political figure. She was the adult in the room. And for the audience watching at home, the message was clear. Experience doesn't expire. It endures. And when challenged, it doesn't crumble. It rises. The conversation moved on. But the energy in the room never fully recovered. Because after that response, nothing more needed to be said. The moment the segment went off air, The internet lit up like wildfire. The calm but commanding way Pam Bondi had responded to Caroline Leavitt's live insult wasn't just noticed, it was celebrated. Within minutes, clips of the showdown flooded Twitter, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels. Political pages posted the face-off with captions like, "Pam Bondi just taught a masterclass on handling disrespect without breaking a sweat." Audiences from every corner of the internet started chiming in. Even those who weren't usually fans of Bondi found themselves praising her response. On Twitter, X, reactions came in fast. "That wasn't a comeback, that was a lesson. Pam Bondi handled that like a seasoned pro." Another user wrote, "Caroline thought she was going viral, but Bondi went legendary. That's how you shut someone down without even raising your voice." And then came the edits. TikTok users remixed the clip with dramatic music, slow zoom-ins on Bondi's calm expression, and captions like "Grace under fire" and "When class beats chaos." Some even added subtitles and freeze frames to highlight the exact moment Caroline Leavitt realized she'd gone too far. The views? Skyrocketing. In just a few hours, one clip had reached over 1 million views on TikTok, while political commentary channels on YouTube were uploading reaction videos with thumbnails reading, "Pam Bondi, the moment she silenced a rising star," and "Watch Caroline regret everything in real time." Even news outlets couldn't ignore it. Headlines started popping up. "Pam Bondi outclasses Leavitt in unexpected on-air clash." "Experience versus ego." Viewers praised Bondi's cool-headed response. Meanwhile, Caroline Leavitt's social media told a different story. Although a handful of hardcore supporters tried to rally behind her, calling her bold and fearless, the larger narrative was not in her favor. Many viewers called her behavior disrespectful and immature. "Caroline came in hot and got iced by someone who's been in the game longer than she's been out of college," one person posted. "There's a difference between confidence and condescension," another added. "She learned that the hard way tonight." In the hours that followed, Bondi didn't gloat. She didn't tweet about it. She didn't retweet memes or drop snarky quotes, and that, surprisingly, made her look even stronger. Her silence after the storm spoke louder than any clapback. The online world, where outrage usually wins, sided with composure this time. People respected her for not taking the bait, for not trading insult for insult. In an age of overreaction and sound bites, Pam Bondi's restraint became the real headline. And for Caroline Leavitt, a moment that was supposed to elevate her voice instead exposed her inexperience. Pam Bondi didn't just win the debate, she won the audience. After the dust settled and the media buzz began to calm, Pam Bondi addressed the heated moment in a calm and collected follow-up interview. She wasn't looking to add fuel to the fire. Instead, she chose to reflect with maturity and professionalism, traits she had clearly demonstrated during the debate itself. With the same composed tone that won her praise across social media, she said, "I've always believed in strong debate, but also in respect. We can disagree without tearing each other apart. I hope Caroline takes that to heart." There was no sarcasm, no bitterness. Just a subtle, well-placed reminder that politics doesn't have to be a shouting match to be effective. Bondi's message resonated even more after viewers had seen the full exchange. It was clear. She wasn't interested in point scoring. She was interested in setting an example. On the other side, Caroline Leavitt released a short, carefully worded statement, likely written with help from her PR team. "I respect all Republican leaders, including Pam," she said. "Sometimes debates get intense, but it's all part of the process." It was an attempt to walk back the moment without fully admitting fault. But for many viewers, the statement felt flat, lacking the sincerity or accountability that could have shifted public perception in her favor. By this point, the viral clip had done its work. It had painted a clear contrast between two very different types of leadership. And the takeaway for most viewers was simple. Not every loud voice is a strong one. Caroline had entered the stage hoping to make a splash, to stand out, to grab headlines. And she did, but not in the way she intended. Her aggressive tone and personal jabs came across as unprofessional, even immature, when placed beside Bondi's measured, confident responses. Many political commentators began weighing in with a deeper message. They pointed out that the conservative movement needs young voices, yes, but voices that are prepared, respectful, and grounded. Energy is good, but energy without direction, that's chaos. And while Leavitt may still have a future in politics, this incident served as a humbling lesson. Being bold doesn't mean being reckless. For Pam Bondi, however, this was more than just a debate. It was a moment of quiet victory. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't throw insults. She didn't defend her career. She let it speak for itself. Decades of service, leadership, and results stood behind her like a silent army. She showed that in a world of constant noise, dignity still matters. And sometimes the most powerful way to win a battle is by refusing to fight it the wrong way. Bondi walked away with her reputation not only intact, but elevated. And Caroline? She walked away with a moment that may follow her far longer than she expected. Respect wins. Wisdom endures. And in this exchange, Pam Bondi proved both. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this every day.